Hi, I'm Luna, and this is our continuation of the Intro to Yoga series. And this particular class will be about twisting. And twisting is so beneficial for us. It detoxifies the internal organs. You can think of it like wringing a towel out. You're wringing out the old and bringing space for the new. That also helps us with your circulation, the blood flow in your body. And it really helps to release tension in the spine, compression and tension that tends to happen when we're sitting a lot throughout the day. And yeah, it's just all around so lovely for your body, and also helps to stimulate your mind. So twists are really, really lovely. They're rejuvenating for your entire being. I love them. Hopefully you'll love them. And we'll explore how to move into them safely and different keys of twisting. So I'd recommend at least having one block nearby or something of that sort. If you have pretty tight hamstrings, then maybe 2 blocks will actually be more accessible to you. And then we're going to get started lying on our backs. So as you lie down onto your back, go ahead and just bend your knees, bring the soles of your feet to the floor, move your feet a little bit wider than hip distance apart, and then allow your knees to gently knock in towards one another. You can have your hands touching your torso, your front body, or maybe your arms on either side of you with your palms facing up. Either way is cool. But do close your eyes and just give yourself this first moment to settle in. And check in. Shifting your focus and awareness inward onto yourself and just noticing how you feel. And just gradually bringing your awareness to your breath, inhaling a little bit deeper. Exhaling a little bit more fully, and do that a couple more rounds of just actively breathing a little bit deeper. And then we'll trickle into our Ujjayi breath if you haven't already done so. So there's this little restriction across the back of your throat. I like to think of it, you can imagine like you're trying to fog up a mirror. That kind of restriction, but you're keeping your mouth closed. You're creating this little whispering sound across the back of the throat. You could think of it like Darth Vader sounding, or I like to think of it like the waves on a beach. Either way works, but there's this little whispering sound happening. It'll really help you calm the mind, but also focus the mind, connecting it to the body. It's really where we want it throughout the practice. So we can keep our awareness here and now. All right, so keeping that breath, and actually the breath is going to be a big key of twisting. It really helps us create more space. You're going to go ahead and lift your heels off of the floor. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a tickle in my throat. So you're going to have your knees in alignment with your hips, your heels in alignment with your knees like this, and then reach your arms wide like a T shape with your palms facing up. Flex through your feet, so opposite of pointing your toes, you're flexing through your feet. And already notice if your low back is kind of lifting off of the floor. We want to ground the low back to the floor, so you're already waking up some of your lower abs, the deeper core muscles. That's a great thing. We want to wake up the core muscles throughout the practice so that we can move from the center line of the body. You want to think about moving from the internal lever of your core muscles when you move into twists. That'll safely move into twists. So we're going to stay here as we inhale. And then exhale, you're going to move the knees to the left, but only like an inch or two. Just like an inch or two. It's a tiny little movement. And then inhale, come back through center. And then exhale, roll the knees over to the right, just a couple of inches, very small movement. And then inhale back through center. And then exhale to the left. So you're going to continue like that. And try, I know your arms are there and you can use them a little, but try not to rely on your arms for this. We're really trying to wake up our core muscles, our external obliques, our side body kind of twisting muscles. So you inhale, come back through center. And then exhale, do your little gentle twist. And then maybe after a couple of rounds, you actually move a little bit more, right? The knees get a little bit closer to the floor, but not so much your opposite shoulder lifts. So keep both of your shoulders grounded on the floor. That's the stabilizer. And then we really want to wake up the core muscles by rolling the knees to one side and then to the other side. You have a couple more rounds to go. We're just going slowly here. And just notice how this feels in your low back. We're also massaging the low back to the floor as we wake up the core muscles. This is your last round. So coming back through center, and then just make sure you're ending on the right side. And then inhale, come back through center, and then we're actually going to go for the twist. Exhale, roll your knees all the way over to the left. And just notice how your hips are now more towards the left edge of your mat versus the middle of your mat. So go ahead and just move your hips to the right, like 2 inches, maybe even 3 inches. So when you look down, your hips are right in alignment with like your shoulders and your chest. That's your the axis of the spine that'll help you twist more safely and more deeply. And then try to have your knees on top of one another, your heels on top of one another, and then revolve your chest open to the right with your right shoulder moving towards the floor. And your right shoulder will probably be lifting off of the floor now, and that's fine. But you're allowing it to move in the direction of the floor. And then if it feels all right for you, you can gaze over to the right. So you've got a bit of a spinal twist all the way up into your neck. And then just be here for a couple of breaths, softening into the twist. So with every inhale, feel a sense of expansion in your body. Like in all directions, you're expanding. And then with your exhale, notice when you're empty of air, you can revolve a little bit more. You've got a little bit more space to dive deeper into the twist. And that's where the breath is quite important when we're twisting. And then inhale, slowly reach your arms wide. Try to use your core muscles to roll your knees back up through center. And then you might need to sneak your hips over to the left. And you can use your toes to the floor, just kind of roll your hips over to the left. And go ahead and move them a little bit more to the left so they're not central, right? And then roll the knees over to the right. Slow motion, a little bit of core work. Great. And then if you need to, again, move the hips a little bit, that's quite all right, so that your hips are right in alignment with like the crown of your head. We want a long spine. That'll really help us find a deeper twist. And then revolve your chest open to the left with your left shoulder grounding in the direction of the floor. Maybe your right hand is on top of your left knee. Maybe it's not. Either way is fine. And then we're here for a couple of long breaths. Feel the inhales expand. And the exhales soften a little bit more into the twist. And twists really take time, right? If this is not something you normally do, you might feel like a little bit claustrophobic in this shape. Just give yourself time and give yourself truly breathing into your body. That's really the gateway to unlock the tension that we're holding on to in the spine and the side body so that we can dive a little bit deeper into the twist, finding more space. And then we'll slow motion reach the arms wide and come back through center. You might need to move your hips back to the center line of your mat and then hug your knees into your chest. Little rock from side to side just to massage your low back to the floor. However you'd like, you could roll to one side or you could roll yourself on up into a seat. Either way is fine. And then just sit cross-legged. Let's have the right shin in front. And then we're going to flex through the feet, have a little flexion happening. And just reach your arms wide and all the way on up. And pause for a moment. So really reach through your fingertips. So again, we're trying to lengthen the spine, so finding that central axis of the spine and lengthening it. Notice if you're rounding your back body behind you. Try to really lift up through the fingertips, through the crown of your head, inhaling. And then exhale, slow motion, you're going to twist over to the right. So your chest is like twisting over towards your right knee. And then we're going to be here for a couple of breaths. So again, we're trying to wake up our core muscles and also the muscles along the spine. So we're inhale, lengthening, lifting through the fingertips, the crown of your head more. Exhale, try to twist a little bit more just from your core. Again, one more inhale, get a little longer. Exhale, twist a little bit deeper, deeper, deeper. Now bring your left hand to your right knee and your right hand back behind you on the floor. I like finger pads to give myself a little bit more of a lift. Either way, inhale, continue lengthening through the crown of your head. Now from here, you can exhale, use your left hand against the right knee, use your right hand against the floor to pull yourself a little bit deeper into the twist, to revolve yourself a little bit more into it and allow your shoulders to be soft. Great. And then come back through center. And just switch the crossing of your shins. See, your left shin is in front. Little flexion of your feet. You're grounding through your sitting bones, little bony parts at the bottom of your pelvis. That's like your feet of this pose. Inhale, reach your arms up towards the ceiling or the sky if you're outside. And then exhale, slow motion, twist over to the left. And then you've got 2 more long breaths here just to wake up the muscles along your spine and your core. Stay for your inhale. Lengthening. Maybe you can exhale, twist a little bit more just from your core muscles. 1 more inhale, lengthening. Exhale, try to twist a little bit deeper and then lower your right hand to your left knee and your left hand back behind you on the floor. And then again, inhale, try to lift up, lengthen a little bit more. And then exhale, try to twist a little bit deeper. So you're using your hand against your knee, your left hand against the floor to revolve your chest open to the left a little bit more. Great. And then come back through center. And then swivel your legs back behind you. And find tabletop position. Have your blocks near the front of your mat, just in case you need them later. Tabletop, your shoulders are stacked right above your wrists, and your knees are hip distance apart. And then make sure you're really spreading your fingers wide. Let's do a little bit of movement in the spine just to wake it up. You're going to inhale, pull the chest forward and up. Tailbone lifts up, cow pose. And then exhale, chin to your chest, tailbone to the floor, round into cat. And then 2 more of those. Inhale, cow, opening, and then exhale, rounding into cat. 1 more. Inhale, opens, press down through your knuckle pads more, and then exhale, round into cat. And then inhale, find a flat back, so between the 2 worlds, you're lengthening your spine. Stay for the exhale, shrug the shoulders down the back, keep your neck long. And then you're going to inhale, sweep your right arm to the right, and then all the way up to the ceiling, towards the ceiling. Stay for your exhale, roll the shoulders down to your back even more. Again, we're waking up the core muscles. 1 more inhale, reach your fingertips maybe a little higher with your right hand. And then exhale, thread your right arm underneath your left arm and come down onto the right shoulder and the right side of your face. And if the head doesn't touch the floor comfortably, you could be resting it onto a block if that is more comfortable to you. So we're in a bit of a twisting shoulder stretch situation. You could bring your left hand, you could be on palm or finger pads, and you could push down through the hand to revolve a little bit more, right? So your left shoulder rolls back behind you and your chest opens to the left more. That's an option if it feels good. You could also reach your left arm forward in space to stretch the left side body a little bit longer. Either way is fine, but we're here for a couple of long breaths. And again, with the twist, notice how the breath affects the body. So the inhale is that expansive quality, and the exhale is a softening. 1 more breath here, long inhale. Full exhale. Okay, bring your left palm next to your face, palm on the floor. Use that to lift yourself on up into tabletop position. You might need to move your hands so your wrists are right underneath your shoulders. And then inhale, open your chest forward and up just to release out of that twist. Exhale, chin to your chest, tailbone to the floor. 2 more. Inhale, cow, little back bend. Exhale, rounds into cat. 1 more. Inhale, cow. Exhale, rounds into cat. Cool. Inhale, flat back. Stay for the exhale. Try to shrug the shoulders down the back and already feel a little lifting of your core. So we're not just hanging out. We feel a little bit of activity of the core muscles. And then inhale, sweep your left arm to the left and up to the ceiling in that general direction. Stay for your exhale. Continue lengthening through the crown of your head. 1 more inhale. Lift your left fingertips a little higher from your core muscles, waking up to revolve. And then exhale, thread your left arm underneath your right. Come down onto the left shoulder, the left side of your face. Maybe you're on the right finger pads or palm and pushing yourself deeper into the twist. So pushing the right shoulder back behind you and your chest open towards the right wall, towards the ceiling. You could also reach your right arm forward in space and stretch the right side waist long. And then we're here for a couple of long breaths in your twist. Notice if one hip is kind of skewed, maybe one hip is closer towards that shoulder. Try to even out the side body, the lengthening of the side waist evenly. And then using the breath to soften a little bit more into the shape. One more big inhale. And a full exhale. And then lower your right palm down onto the floor next to your face. And then use that to lift yourself back up. Tabletop position. You might need to adjust your hands. Inhale, cow, just one more. Exhale, rounds into cat to clear that out. Inhale, cow opening. And then exhale, move your hands forward just like an inch or two. Spread your fingers wide. Your pointer fingers are pointing towards the front of your mat. So a little bit of an external rotation with the hands, with the arms. And then exhale, tuck your toes and lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. And then give yourself a moment in down dog. It might feel nice to do a little pedaling of the heels just to wake up the hamstrings and the calves a little bit more. And then we're moving in the direction of stillness in your downward facing dog. Lifting the hips up and back. And you're always welcome to have a little bend of the knees or even a large bend of your knees if that helps you lengthen your spine. So no rounding forward in space. You're melting your chest towards your legs. You're lifting your hips up and back. All right, inhale, lift your right leg up and back. Exhale, step the right foot where the right thumb is. Tap your left knee down onto the ground. Keep your back toes tucked under. And then inhale, sweep your arms forward and all the way on up. So this is called Anjaneyasana, or the kind of low lunge situation. Feel as if you could pull your legs towards one another. And from one of our first classes in this, finding neutral in your pelvis, think about that. So notice if you're overly arching. Notice if one hip is wrapping forward than the other. We want to try to find neutral in the pelvis, which means your pelvis isn't tilted forward or back. Think of it like a bowl. It's not tilted forward or back, and it's not like skewed one way. It's not pointing one direction. So it's forward and up. You find this kind of nice bowl of your pelvis. And that's going to really be what's going to help you support the spine, the spinal twist. So that's important, what's going on with your pelvis. All right, stay with your inhale. And then exhale, tee your arms, and then twist over to the right. So again, we're waking up the core muscles. Stay for your inhale. Think about lengthening through the crown of your head more. Stay for your exhale. Think about twisting a little bit deeper. And then you're just going to lower your left palm to the floor underneath your left shoulder head and lift your right arm straight up to the ceiling into a twist. So now we've got a little bit more support with the left hand on the ground. You can stay here. You can also tuck your left toes under and engage your left leg. So lifting your left knee off of the floor. Just another option. Either way, we're getting a twist, which is what we want. We've got one more breath here. Keep revolving the chest open to the right. But notice your left pelvic half, that left hip wants to wrap down to the floor along for the ride. So think about energetically lifting your left hip up, energetically twisting your hips to the left wall to keep your hips even as you revolve your chest open to the right wall. All right, lower your right hand down on the outside of your right foot. Inhale, lengthen your spine, and then exhale, pivot all 10 toes to the left. So your toes are a little bit in and your heels are a little bit out. And you might need to adjust your stance so your feet are actually in alignment with one another. You're welcome to have hands on blocks if that gives you more support in your body. Bend the knees a little bit. Inhale, come up halfway. Hands are either on blocks or finger pads. You're lengthening your spine. And then exhale, just fold over your legs. And just hang out here. We're going to do a little bit of work in the hamstrings today. So we're just going to breathe into the stretch right now. Again, your legs do not have to be straight. They never have to be straight in the practice. We're just moving in that direction. So listen to your body. That's really the key of the practice. Slowly easing your way deeper and deeper into the body. Takes time. All right, one more breath here. Forward folding. And then inhale, come back up halfway. So you could have a hand on a block or on the floor. Either way is fine. But you're going to bring your left hand down either onto a block at any height at all, or maybe finger pads on the floor if you live in a pretty flexible, bendy body. But your left hand is like right underneath your head, your face. And then sweep your right arm to the right. And then sweep your right fingertips up towards the ceiling. And then shrug your shoulders down your back. And notice your hips want to move over to the right, right? Your left hip wants to dip down and towards the front of the room. The right hip wants to dip up towards the ceiling. Can you feel your hips pulling towards the original back of your mat, towards your left foot? Keep your hips in alignment. And you can even bring your right hand to your low back and notice what is happening with your hips. So a lot of the time our whole body is just like cranking into it. That's not really the twist. We want to keep the hips stable in alignment. And that's what's going to help you actually truly twist deeper into your body. And you might not get quite as deep into it, and that's fine, but you're being honest with your body. It's a lot safer. And ultimately you'll get more benefits from it. Being truly true in your body, in your pose. All right, lower your right hand down, fold over your legs. Inhale, come back up halfway. Pivot your right toes forward to the front of your mat. Tap your left knee down. And then inhale again, sweep your arms up, Anjaneyasana. So we just did a lot of open twists. Now we're going to move into a closed twist. You're going to bring your palms together in front of your heart and then twist over to the right. And then you're going to hook your left elbow across your outer right thigh. And I'm just going to show you this way so you can see what's going on. Go ahead and bring the left elbow on the outer right leg, but use your right hand to literally push your knee a little bit more central so you can get your left elbow past your leg a little bit more. And then push your knee back against your arm and then bring your palms together. So these little details that'll actually help you dive deeper into the pose, right? So elbow on the outside, we're kind of pushing the knee central to get the elbow, really the upper arm to the upper leg, less of your elbow to your knee and more upper arm to upper leg. And then bring your palms to touch and then really press down through your palms. So now we're like really getting into a nice deep twist. You're pressing through your palms and you're trying to move your palms towards the center of your chest. And then we're here for another breath or so. Lengthening as you inhale and twisting as you exhale. All right, release your hands to the floor. Lovely work. Tuck the back toes under, engage your back leg. Inhale, step back into fine plank pose. It's just a nice neutralizer for your spine. That was a pretty deep twist. Hang out here for a couple of breaths, feeling the strength of your legs, the lengthening of your low back, and then opening of your chest. All right, downward facing dog. Pause for a moment in down dog, lifting the hips up and back. This is a nice lengthening for the spine, evening out the left and right from all the twists we just did on the right side. And now we will move to the left side. So inhale, lift your left leg up and back. Exhale, knee to nose. Step your left foot where the left thumb is. Tap the right knee down. Keep your back toes tucked under. As you inhale, sweep your arms all the way on up, Anjaneyasana. And then again, what's going on with your pelvis, with your hips? Remember the first class of the series. Can you lengthen your low back? Can you wrap your outer hips towards one another? There's a little activity of your core muscles to help you support your low back and feel this lifting up action instead of sinking into it. We're lifting up. And then exhale, T, and twist to the left. And then stay for your inhale. Can you get a little bit taller? Lift through the crown of your head. Stay for your exhale. Maybe you can twist a little bit deeper into it. And then lower your right palm down onto the floor, right underneath your right shoulder head, and lift your left arm a little bit higher towards the ceiling. Shrug both of your shoulder blades down your back, especially your right shoulder likes to lean forward towards your left knee. So think about wrapping your inner right upper arm, your bicep forward. Your fingertips stay, but you're externally rotating your upper arm and plugging your right shoulder down your back, and then using the right shoulder blade, pushing it into your back to open your chest more. So that's a lever. The shoulder is going to help you revolve a little bit more. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Lift the right knee off of the floor and strengthen your right leg. Either way, what's happening with your right hip? Is it dipping down to the floor? Is your right heel rolling to the right edge of your mat? Can you energetically lift your right hip up towards the ceiling, twist your hips to the right wall as your chest revolves open to the left wall? All right, lower your left hand down. Inhale, just lengthen your spine. Maybe your hands are dragging blocks. Exhale, pivot the toes over to the right. Toes a little bit in, heels a little bit out. Maybe you've got a block or two blocks nearby. Inhale, just lengthen through the crown of your head so you're getting long. You could bend the knees as much as you need. Exhale, fold over your legs and hang out upside down. Breathing into the back body a little bit more. especially into the hamstrings, because we're going to use them later for another twist. And just forward folding for now. All right, and then you inhale, come back up halfway. Bring your right palm either onto a block at any height at all. We want to ultimately lengthen the spine, right? Finding that central axis. So right palm is either on the block or the floor. And then slow motion sweep your left arm to the left and up towards the ceiling. And just notice how your hips want to go along for the ride. So maybe bring your left hand to your low back and notice how it's kind of skewed. And try to pull your right hip towards the original back of your mat more. So think of it like you could have like a little glass of water on your sacrum, that flat bone of your low back, of the pelvis, so that it wouldn't be like tilted over, right? That's what we want. And then continue lengthening and then revolving your chest to the left, and maybe your left arm ends up lifting to the ceiling, and maybe it doesn't. You've got another inhale. Try to twist deeper as you exhale, and then lower your left hand down and fold over your legs. Lovely work. Come on up halfway, inhaling, and pivot your left toes forward to the front of your mat and tap the right knee back down. And just make sure your left knee is right over your left ankle. Isn't past your ankle. You might need to walk your left foot forward more. All right, inhale, sweep your arms all the way on up, back into your low lunge. So this is a little bit easier for you to see on this side. You're going to exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Twist to the left. Hook your right elbow across the left thigh. I allow my left knee to come in just for a moment. We usually want the knee over the ankle, but for a transition, you can do that. And then you can use your left hand against your thigh to get your right upper arm towards your upper right leg, more so than from elbow to knee, getting it into the upper arm, upper leg. And then push your left knee back against your arm so it's not out of alignment. The knee is over the ankle, and then palms touch. And then you're actually pushing your right arm against your left leg, pushing down to lift up away from it and revolve your chest open towards the ceiling. And then we're here for a couple of long breaths. This can be quite intense, but this is really where like the juicy stuff happens, right? These kind of deeper closed twists. That's where you're really creating more and more space. It's less about strengthening and more about really creating space in the spine and detoxifying the internal organs. You've got another long inhale. Try to twist a little bit deeper as you exhale, pressing your right arm against your left leg, and then unravel your hands to the floor. Woo! Tuck the back toes under, engage your back leg, step back, plank pose. And then we're chilling out in plank, as if you could be chill in plank. Using your breath to kind of soften into it, even though, of course, we're working. But this is a nice stabilizer for the spine after that deep twist we just had. One more inhale, and then exhale, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Great. Give yourself a long inhale, lifting the hips up and back. A long exhale. And then inhale, just look over to your hands, and exhale, walk your feet forward to your hands, and have your feet hip distance apart. Toes are a little in, heels are a little out. Bend the knees a good amount and just hang upside down for a moment. We're just allowing the spine to lengthen. You could even clasp opposite elbows for a little bit more weight and do a gentle little sway, little dangle from side to side. And then just cross the opposite forearm in front if you're doing that. Continue just softening into your forward fold, maybe moving towards stillness. A little bit more weight towards your toes, and we're just moving the legs towards straight. It's more about the lengthening of your spine versus your legs being totally straight. So notice, maybe if you bend your knees more, the crown of your head can move a little bit closer to the floor, so the spine can release a little bit more from that releasing of your hamstrings. All right, and then release your hands towards the floor. Bend the knees. Inhale, come up halfway. Hands to your shins, lengthening your spine. And then exhale, fold over your legs. Keeping your feet hip distance. Inhale, bend the knees and reach your arms tall in chair pose. Utkatasana. Feet are hip distance and the knees are hip distance. On your exhale, palms together in front of the heart. You're going to twist over to the right and hook your left elbow across your outer right thigh. So again, remember what we did earlier. You can use your right hand against the outer thigh to get your left elbow kind of past the knee and then bring your palms to touch one another. I will say the feet hip distance, the knees hip distance are a little bit harder than your feet and your knees together. But this is a really good stabilizing exercise for your legs, for the pelvis. So every inhale, think about lengthening your spine and look at your left knee. It wants to pop forward. Move it back so it's in alignment with your right knee. Exhale, twist deeper. Great work. Inhale, come back into chair pose, arms lifting. And then exhale, stand, palms together in front of the heart. You're going to release your hands. Give yourself a moment and notice how you feel. Maybe close your eyes, maybe don't. Notice how this is quite stimulating, right? These twists, they're waking the body up. You might feel a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more alive. That's great. All right, doing the same thing, opposite side. Inhale, bend your knees, reach your arms up. Exhale, palms together, twist over to the left. Hook the right elbow across your left thigh and use your left hand to get your right elbow past your knee and then bring your palms to touch. And then just look at your knees. You most likely will have to pull the right knee, the right hip back, right? The whole body wants to go into it. So try to keep your legs and your pelvis stable, how it already was in your chair pose rather, and then press down through your palms, lengthen as you inhale, and try to twist a little bit deeper as you exhale. And then inhale, come back into chair pose, lovely work. Exhale, stand, palms together in front of the heart, release your hands. Give yourself a moment to pause, notice how you feel. All right, so from here, grab hold of one of your blocks, and you're going to bring it next to your left foot, right next to your left foot. And then bring your hands to your hips and step your left foot back. I'd say like 3, 4 feet, 3.5 feet, something like that. Like a leg's distance apart about. This is our pyramid pose stance. Your right foot is straight forward. Your back foot is a bit of an angle forward and to the left, like to the front left corner of your mat. And then bring your hands onto your hips and manually pull the right hip back and your left hip forward. So again, we're working towards a neutral pelvis. So we're not like back bending or rounding or one hip is forward. We're trying to work towards that neutral Tadasana mountain pose pelvis. And then keep your right hand to the right hip. It'll help you with what's going on with your hips. Inhale, lift your left arm high to the ceiling. And then exhale, slow motion. Keep pulling the right hip back. Keep reaching your left fingers forward. You can have a micro bend of the right knee. That's cool. And then lower your left hand down. I would recommend on the highest height of the block, right underneath your left shoulder head. So think of the block as a continuation of your arm. You're just lifting the floor up to yourself, which is going to be a lot more supportive and spacious in this twist. Okay, and then pull the right hip back. Your right hand is still on your right hip, wrapping it back, right? You can even bring your hand to your low back. Is your pelvis swayed to one side? Is it tilted? What's going on? Can you try to feel the hips in alignment with one another? And same thing we did in our wide leg forward fold twist. Like, can you have a little glass of water on your low back right now? Or your favorite beverage? Inhale, lengthen your spine. And then exhale, just revolve your chest to the right wall. So we're moving into that twist. And maybe this is where you stay, which is great. Some of you might explore reaching your right arm up to the ceiling. So you're grounding through the outer left foot, revolving your chest to the right. You're using your core muscles to revolve, and you're shrugging your shoulders down your back. And then lower your right hand down. Bring your right hand back to your right hip. Your chest now faces the floor. All right, bend the right knee. This is our last standing pose. Move your left block hand. I'd recommend, again, highest height. A good 7-8 inches forward. It's okay, you can kind of adjust. Step, step, step your left foot forward until you feel stable on your left hand on the block and your right foot on the ground. This is like a warrior 3 variation. And you might need to adjust your block so your left shoulder is right above your left wrist, right? So that same kind of building block, the continuation of your arm is happening. Your left leg is super straight and strong behind you, but you could have a little bend of the right knee. If this is a lot for the right hamstrings, you could bend the knee, that's fine. Push your right hip to the back of the room. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Maybe your hand is on your sacrum. Notice, is your left hip dipping down? Is it lifting up? Can you try to have both of your pelvic halves in alignment with one another? And then exhale, right hand to the right hip, revolve the chest to the right wall. Some of you might lift your right arm up to the ceiling. Some of you might decide that's too much today, and you keep your right hand to your right hip. This is our revolved half moon pose, the big one. And then slowly lower your right hand down. Could be on a block or the floor. Just fold over your right leg. It's called standing splits. Deep hamstring and calf stretch. And then lower your left foot down to the floor with your feet hip distance apart. Let yourself just hang upside down. You could clasp opposite elbows again. You could do a little sway from side to side. Give yourself a moment to let go of that. Maybe you inhale deeply into your nose and open your mouth, stick out your tongue, lion's breath. It's a nice release. Not only physically, energetically, also mentally, softening from that work we just did. All right, and then inhale, bend the knees, reach your arms tall, chair. It's a nice neutralizer and stabilizer for your spine. And then exhale, stand, palms together in front of the heart. Cool. So move one of your blocks right next to your right foot. Hands on hips, step your right foot back. This is our last standing stuff. Winding down after these two poses. So we're in our pyramid pose stance. Your heels, they could be in alignment with one another, but I would really recommend, especially if you're newer to the practice, your feet are like still hip distance apart, even though we stepped back. That'll just give your pelvis, your hips a lot more space, and it'll be a lot more grounding and stabilizing. So the left toes are forward, the right toes are like a 45-degree angle open. We're grounding through the outer right foot. Both of your legs are strong, but if you have a tight hamstrings in general, you can have a little bend of your left knee, that's fine. And then pull your left hip back with your left hand, pull it back. Notice it wants to wrap forward. Pull it back so your hips are in alignment. One isn't farther back towards the back of your mat than the other. And then reach your right arm up. Think about lengthening your spine, that central axis. Inhale, lengthen, 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 reach forward. And then exhale, lower your right hand down. I would say highest height of a block underneath your shoulder head. This is our twisting triangle pose. So with your left hand to your left hip, push, wrap your outer left hip back and lengthen your spine. Then again, you could bring your left hand to your low back and notice what's happening. Is your hip swaying over to the left? Can you keep your left hip pulling back and in so the hips are in alignment with one another? And then you can bring your left hand back to your hip. Inhale, lengthen your spine, and then exhale, revolve your chest to the left. Maybe this is it, and this is great. This is already a lot. Maybe lift your left arm up to the ceiling. And then remember what we did earlier. Can you wrap your inner right upper arm, your bicep forward, shrug your right shoulder blade down your back, use your right shoulder blade as leverage to revolve your chest to the left more. And then continue using your core muscles to revolve and try to keep the hips in alignment at the same time. And then lower your left hand to your left hip. Bend your left knee. Work your right block forward, a good 7-8 inches forward. And then you could take a couple of steps until you feel stable to reach your right leg behind you. So this is kind of like a Warrior 3 variation. You want the right wrist right underneath the right shoulder head. You want to wrap your outer left hip back. You want to kick the wall behind you with your right heel. So you're really reaching through the right heel. And that's a nice stabilizer. That's what's going to help you stabilize your pelvis and find balance in this pose. Maybe hand to the low back and notice what's going on. The right hip probably wants to dip down. Can you twist your hips to the right and then twist your chest to the left, right? So trying to keep the hips in alignment, the stabilizer, the lengthening of the spine, and the opening of the chest to the left. And maybe lift your left arm up, or maybe you don't, and that's cool too. Shrug the shoulders down your back. One more breath here. And then lower your left hand down, maybe on a block, maybe on the floor. Folding over your left leg, standing splits for a beat, and then lower your right foot down, feet or hip distance. Ooh, nice work. Cross the opposite forearm in front, whatever feels a bit weird in your body. Do a little sway, a little dangle. Let the head hang heavy. Yeah, maybe you inhale deeply into the nose and open your mouth, stick out your tongue, lion's breath. Inhale, come on up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees and sink your hips all the way to the floor. You could use your hands or not. And then go ahead and reach your legs straight forward in space. All right. So let's find Dandasana, staff pose. You could think of it as Tadasana, sitting. So we're grounding through our sitting bones. We're flexing through the feet in front of us, engaging the legs. And then I'd recommend bringing your hands to the floor, finger pads or palms, but I notice finger pads gives me a lot more space. And then you're just going to shrug your shoulder blades down your back and try to find a lifting up through the crown of your head. So less rounding and more lengthening, lifting up. The chest is pulling forward and up. The crown of the head is lifting up. And your shoulder blades are pushing into your chest to encourage that expansion across the front body and the lifting up action. And then go ahead and bend your right knee. And then keep your right knee in alignment with your right sitting bone, the right ankle in alignment with the sitting bone, and then bring your right hand behind you for stability. Again, I would recommend finger pads if that feels all right. Palm is fine too. But just notice how finger pads helps me lift up more and kind of lean forward in space. So again, no rounding. And if rounding is what's happening, that's fine. It's totally normal and natural. It just means that you probably have a tighter like hamstrings and hips and low back. Then you might be sitting up on a blanket or a pillow or a block right now, and that'll help you find more space. But again, we want to really work on the central axis of the spine, right? So we're not rounding and twisting. That's not going to get us anywhere. We're lengthening and lifting up. Lift your left arm up. And then exhale, twist. An option to hug your left knee with your left arm, or option to bring your left arm, the elbow on the outside of the knee. And remember the stuff that we did earlier in those closed twists. So you can push your knee past for a moment to get your left arm in there, and then push your knee back against your arm so the knee stays in alignment with the sitting bone and the heel. So we're not in out of alignment. You're just there for a beat and then coming back into it. And notice how that's giving you leverage to twist deeper. Then every inhale lengthens through the crown of your head. Every exhale, twist a little bit deeper. Remember, the left hand is even helping you roll into the twist more. Roll the right shoulder rather, down your back. Actually, really both of them, down your back as you revolve. All right, inhale, come back through center. Open your right knee to the right, sole of your foot against your inner thigh. And then go ahead and reach your arms up to the ceiling. So this is a very gentle little twist. It's a forward fold to release from the work we've done today. So you're going to inhale, lift your arms up and do a little twist over towards your left leg. And then exhale, try to fold on the outside of your left leg. So there's a variation where you're just folding right on top. We're going to do a little bit of outside of the leg. So there's a little bit of a twist happening. You could bring your right hand to the outer ankle or shin or foot and use that as leverage to twist and fold forward. You could also bring your hands just on the floor on the outside of your left leg. Finger pads or palms are fine. But you're using them to inhale, lengthen your spine. A little twist over to the outside of your left leg, and then exhale, fold over the left leg. And we're here for 2 more breaths. You should be finding a pretty deep experience in the low right side of your waist, the low right back. Also, of course, we're getting into the left hamstrings and the left calf. And then inhale, slowly lift yourself on up. Grab hold of the outer right knee, hug it in, straighten the right leg forward. Maybe give yourself a little wiggle to let go. And then we'll switch, bend your left knee, sole of your left foot to the floor, and just have the sitting bone in alignment with your ankle and your knee. So they're not all wonky in a weird place. They're all right there. And then flex through your right foot, engage the right leg. That's a stabilizer. Maybe you're sitting on a block or a blanket, and that's totally cool. That's actually a great idea if that's going to help you with less rounding and more lengthening. Left hand behind you, maybe finger pads, maybe block. Hand could also be on a block. It's a great idea. Right arm will end up lifting up, inhaling. And then exhale, you're twisting. So you could hug. Cool. You could also bring arm on the outside of the leg. Either one is fine. If you're doing the arm on the outside of the leg, you can kind of push the knee past the sitting bone. Get your arm in there. And then push your leg against your arm so the knee comes back into alignment where you started. And then every inhale lengthens and every exhale twists a little bit more. Shoulders are shrugging down the back. Breathing into the spinal twist. Nice, deep, closed twist. Okay, you're going to inhale, come back through center. Exhale, open your left knee to the side, sole of your foot against your inner thigh. Inhale, reach your arms up, little twist over your right leg. And then exhale, try to fold on the outside of your right leg. And then we're here for a couple of breaths. You can even grab a strap, and that's fine too. Or maybe your left hand's onto the outer right shin or ankle or foot, or maybe your finger pads are on the floor. It's less about exactly what your arms and your hands are doing. And it's more about grounding the right sitting bone down, revolving your torso, your chest towards the outside of your right leg, and then forward folding from that place. And then we're here for 2 more breaths. Breathing into the forward fold. Every inhale lengthens. Every exhale revolves and softens. And then you'll inhale, lift yourself back up. Hug the outer left knee in. Straighten your left leg forward. Just a neutralizer from all the twisting stuff we've done. This is our Dandasana staff pose, and then we're going to come into Poshimotanasana, so just a forward fold over our legs. Flex through your feet, and if you've got tighter hamstrings, you could bend the knees a little bit. That's actually a great idea. Otherwise, legs can be straight. Either way is fine, but we want to inhale, lengthen the spine, lift up, and then exhale, fold forward. And you just stop wherever you're noticing your spine is rounding. So we want less rounding and more lengthening of the spine. So if you need to walk your hands back, that's totally fine. Strap around the feet is also totally cool. But can you, every inhale, lengthen a little bit more? And then every exhale, fold a little bit deeper. Again, if bending the knees is going to help you lengthen your spine, then do that. But really the key is the lengthening of your spine as you fold. That's where we're really going to find the space of your back body. Another breath here, forward folding. Every moment, can you soften a little bit more? And then you'll inhale, lift yourself on up. And then exhale, roll onto your back. For Savasana, allow the feet to splay open just naturally. Have your arms on either side of you with your palms facing up. I'd recommend pressing your feet down. You could bend the knees to press your feet down. Lift your hips up a little bit. Lengthen your tailbone forward. You're kind of rounding your low back, and then lower your hips back down. You're just giving yourself your own adjustment of lengthening your low back. And then you can reach your legs in front of you again and just allow the feet to splay open and have your arms on either side of you with your palms facing up. Maybe you give yourself one last full deep inhale and a big exhale. And then in this moment, just see if you can surrender and let go a little bit more, taking in the practice. Again, the twists are very rejuvenating. That's that idea of out with the old, in with the new. You could even think about in this moment, in Savasana, in your final resting pose, something in your daily life that doesn't actually serve you in a positive way. And maybe you recognize it and choose to let that go so that you can bring space, create space for more positive things to fill. Right? So choosing to let go of things that kind of weigh us down. It might be a particular habit or a reaction or a particular emotion that constantly comes up. So just recognizing that, letting go of that so that we can feel rejuvenated, so that we can lift ourselves to a higher plane. And you can stay here as long as you'd like, basking in the sensations of the practice. Thank you for practicing. Namaste.